It is with a heavy heart that for the last time in what's been an unforgettable mega season, we say hello and welcome to CBS Sports senior golf writer Kyle Porter. KP, this season, the $15 million and title of Tour champion belongs to none other than Patrick Cantlay. He starts the season on fire, goes quiet for a couple months there, then back with a bang, closing out the season with a pair of victories. Outside of a Brinks truck worth of cash here, what does this mean for the 29-year-old Cantlay?
Well, yeah, I think he was 26 whenever the season started 3 years ago. But look, this is a big deal for Patrick Cantlay because it's another win for him. You know, it's technically a PGA Tour win. He didn't finish at the top. If you're just looking at the OWGR, which is the 72-hole lowest score, because obviously he started with the 10 under par to begin the tournament. But 4 wins in a season for him, 4 PGA Tour wins, that's a big deal. And this is, this for him, I think we'll look back on this and it represents a leap into, Paul Azinger said it on the broadcast, superstardom. He's a, maybe not a superstar, but he's a star now. And he is somebody that at major championships, whereas before he was a little maybe forgettable, at least in terms of the mainstream, that's not the role that he's playing anymore. He's going to be the guy or a guy that when you go to a U.S. Open, you expect him to go out and contend. When you go to a Masters, you expect him to be one of the 6 or 7 guys that has the best chance to win it. So he's made a leap this year, even without winning a major championship. And I think that we're going to think about him differently just because of the way he's played over the last couple months.
A major championship. It is a career-affirming moment here for Patrick Cantlay on Sunday. And I think interestingly enough, too, we also got introduced to Patrick Cantlay and a bit of the personality coming out over the last 2 weeks or so. So that was a lot of fun to watch as well. It was drama down to the last drop here with Jon Rahm, a beautiful approach there at 18. His season in many ways unforgettable and forever linked to Cantlay's season-long successes, from stepping aside with that positive COVID case at the Memorial, which Cantlay ends up winning, to falling just short here at East Lake. Rahm, statistically the best in the world, KP, but really not a whole lot of hardware to show for it. If you're Jon Rahm, do you walk away from this season saying, what if?
Yeah, I think so, because, and it's hard because you can measure seasons in a bunch of different ways. And one of those ways is how many tournaments did you win? How many times were you handed a trophy on the PGA Tour? And for Rahm, even though he ended the week, or his week, I guess, 3 different times with the lowest score, he only walked away with 1 trophy. That was at the U.S. Open. Obviously, at the Memorial, he had the lowest score by 6 strokes, had to withdraw after the 3rd round. And then this week, he ends with the lowest 72-hole score alongside Kevin Na. But, hey, he didn't start with enough strokes to start the week to catch Patrick Cantlay. So that's kind of a roundabout way of saying that I think Rahm has to be frustrated by the fact that he doesn't have more trophies, doesn't have more ones on his Wikipedia page, but also pleased with the fact that he's playing at a level that, again, honestly, it's a Tiger Woods-like level statistically. Now, the wins aren't there, and, if you keep playing at that level for that long, if you keep having 14, 15 top 10s in a season, the wins will be there. Jon Rahm is a closer. It's that part is not in question. That's not a Tony Finau situation. So I think he's got to walk away saying, man, that's a bummer that I didn't have more wins, but man, if I keep playing at this level, I might win 6 or 7 times in 2022.
Yeah, there are not many constants in the game of golf. Jon Rahm, over the last month plus, throughout this entire season, really was one. You could copy and paste him at the top of most of these leaderboards. But as is tradition, KP, come playoff time, the format, it almost always comes into question this year by the likes of Rahm himself, who walks away $5 million richer. But the FedEx Cup playoffs, ultimately, they give us a Finau win, as you mentioned, an epic playoff, and then a Patrick Cantlay out-dueling the world #1 with everything on the line here on Sunday. Did you like the way that things played out this week at the playoff and how things ended up playing out? Did you feel like we were left with a just champion?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Look, the playoffs are always going to be difficult because it's at the end of, we're joking about it, it's at the end of a really, really long season where it's just not the most important thing. Your Masters, your U.S. Open, your PGA Championship, all the majors are ultimately, if you look at the season as a whole, those are the more important events. And so it's difficult to kind of get up once again for these last 3 events at the end of the year. But look, like the staggered start, it can be made fun of. It can be, you can say it's goofy. You can say, hey, like Jon Rahm said, the way it's set up doesn't necessarily reward the guy that was the best all year. But I think it's also compelling. I think it's also interesting, and it rewards guys that have success in the playoffs, and that is, to me, a good thing. I like that the golf course was difficult this week, and that, I think, really brought out the best in two guys that were playing some of the best golf at the very end of the year.
Yeah, no doubt juxtaposed to what we saw the last couple weeks and guys just taking dead aim at pins. Eastlake once again stood up, and for my money, it's better than handing out two different trophies there on the 72nd hole. Last day of class, KP always calls for some senior superlatives, you know, best dressed, let's say Rory, class clown, maybe Billy Ho, most likely to work at NASA, Bryson, or at least he'd lead us to believe. KP, I need you to sign the yearbook for me before we say goodbye here to this mega season. Offer up a senior superlative for the whirlwind that was.
Yeah, my superlative is, look, Jon Rahm should be player of the year. And that sounds a little weird because he only won that one time at the U.S. Open. It was a memorable win. Those two birdies at Torrey Pines still resonating. Still, I can still hear, you know, the resounding sounds that were displayed on those last two holes. But I just think he was the best guy. And Rory McIlroy talked about this on Saturday. Even though Cantlay's got those 4 wins, and Morikawa's got a couple wins, and Stuart Sink has a couple wins, and Bryson and all these guys. The way that Rahm played, the consistency is what Rory talked about, the consistency with which he played all year. We undervalue top 10 appearances. He was an auto top 10 every single time out. And just because he didn't get that Memorial win, didn't get a chance to go to a playoff with Kevin Na, who he tied this week at the Tour Championship, doesn't mean he shouldn't be player of the year. So I think we've entered this modern era where we are rewarding Major League Baseball pitchers, even if they don't get wins because of their advanced statistics. And I think we've started to do a little bit the same in golf. And I think that because of that, because Rahm's strokes gained and all the different advanced stats that we have that say he was the best guy, because those are more prevalent now, I think he should be the PGA Tour Player of the Year for this season.
So perhaps Rahm does eventually get his second trophy this season. Through parity, through pandemic, and everything in between, our guy Kyle Porter been with us all season here on HQ, and for that we say thank you, KP. And don't forget, there's plenty more Kyle Porter to be had. There is no off-season with the First Cut podcast. Our guys take you under the ropes and into the action each and every week, including a full breakdown of what we just saw at Eastlake and what's to come at the Ryder Cup. Download, subscribe, and enjoy the First Cut podcast.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.